I was 18 years old, a freshman in college at Mount Union University, when I was walking from one class to another, and a girl ran up to me, kind of scared looking, nervous, and she said, "Hey, did you see or hear that a plane just crashed into one of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center?" And I thought to myself, what? What is going on? So I went on to class, and they had the TV in the room, and everybody was watching the news. And that's when the second plane hit the second tower, and everything changed. Fast forward a year later, I found myself joining the Marine Corps. And then in September of 2004, I went in like any normal day, and my gunnery sergeant had said, "Hey, Corporal King, I need to talk to you." So I said, "Okay, Gunny, what's going on?" And he said, "Hey, you're deploying, but you're not going to Japan anymore. I was supposed to be headed for Japan in a couple months." So I said, "Okay, I assume I'm going to Iraq. When do I leave?" And he said, "You leave Tuesday." And this was Friday. He said, "Go home, let your wife know, get things in order, and then let's get ready to go." You know, when I told Jennifer, she was devastated. She thought, or was expecting me to be going to Japan in a few months, and now all of a sudden, 2 or 3 days from now, I was leaving for Iraq. She was devastated, and I didn't know how to calm her down, so I just reassured her that I would be fine. We got everything in order, and then on September 12th, I found myself on a plane headed for Iraq. I landed in Al-Assad, Iraq, which was an air base, and this base, it was big. I couldn't see the walls. It looked like I was just in the middle of the desert. It didn't look like a normal base, or that you would think that you would see like on TV or in movies. It was just desert for miles. A couple days later, I jumped on a helo and I headed for Fallujah, Iraq. Fallujah was quite different. It was a very small base. The city where the base was named after, Fallujah, was about 3 miles away. We weren't allowed near that city. We didn't go near the city. If we got within a mile, we would be hit by rockets, gunfire, things like that, so we didn't go near it. Then in November 9th, 2004, we decided to take over Fallujah, and we commenced the assault on Fallujah. It was nighttime when we went in. My unit, we were in charge of taking over the train station right outside the city and the apartment complexes that surrounded the train station. Day 2 was November 10th, 2004, which was also the Marine Corps birthday. And my captain came up to me and said, "Corporal King," he said, "where would you rather be on the Marine Corps' birthday? Here in Iraq fighting, or back home getting ready for a ball?" To me at the time, it was a no-brainer. Of course I'd rather be back home getting ready for a ball. But I knew what he meant, and I started to think about it. And that was when I heard a sound. Sounded like a jet was about to crash into us. Real loud whistle sound. And I looked at my buddy, and we both immediately just put our head down, and I thought it was it. I thought it was over. I thought I was dead. And then the loud bang sound, and I looked up a little bit confused, and it was nothing but dust surrounding us. And that's when I heard somebody yell out, "Medic." I jumped out of the Humvee, and I started to run towards where I heard the screams, and that was when I saw Corporal Slate had been directly hit by the rocket, and he was dead. And all of a sudden, war was real. It was no longer a game like you play in the backyard with your friends, but in that instance, it was real. A lot of people have asked me why I joined the Marine Corps, knowing that a war was upon us after 9/11 happened. And I think about a story of an interpreter that was with our unit when I was in Iraq. He was from Baghdad. He had lived in Baghdad his whole life, and he was down in Fallujah interpreting for us. And he was telling me a story once about how his dad was arrested when he was a young kid, around 10 years old, and his dad was arrested in the middle of the night by Saddam's guards, and he had never seen or heard from him again. Doesn't know what happened. Didn't know what happened, why he was being arrested. That story, I think about the freedoms we have here and how great of a country we have. I know that I was guilty for taking for granted the freedoms we have here in our country. The freedom not to be afraid of whether or not your dad's going to be arrested in the middle of the night and taken away from you, never to see or hear from him again. Right now in our country, you see these people stomping on the American flag or whatever they're doing with it on social media. But I'm still reminded of people like Corporal Slate, Staff Sergeant Slayton, my childhood best friend Charles Webb, people like him or them that were still willing to lay down their life, that was willing to sacrifice everything for our country. So to sum it up, if I could say why I joined, why I knew that I was going to go to war, would be because of people like them and for the love of this country. I love our country more than anything. We have the greatest country in the world, and we still have some of the greatest young men and women in the world living in our military, and that's why I chose to join the Marine Corps.